We've got an iPad Pro 11 first gen here. The battery is swollen and it actually caused the screen to pop out. The only part that's still adhered is the bottom section. Everything else kind of already lifted, which I'm surprised nothing else got damaged. As you can see when I turn it on, the display still works, which is really nice, but it is quite lifted. And in a second, we'll see how swollen the batteries are. I'm going to walk you through my process, and I'd love to hear from you guys what you would have done different, if anything. So let's get started. All right, let's go ahead and turn it off real quick. As you can see, our touch is working just fine. And what's kind of nice is the adhesive is right there, so I can gently pull on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this adhesive to hopefully help release the bottom. So we'll gently pull down there till we get to some place where it's got some tension. And then I'm going to do the same on the top. Grab the adhesive. We need to be replacing this adhesive anyway, so we'll remove it. And we'll pull down the side here, hopefully not tearing it all the way down to the bottom. Now we do need to be careful of the flex cable right here, the proximity sensor flex. This does have Face ID, so we need not to damage it. And so let's make sure we don't lift the screen up too high. And I'm going to pull the adhesive around the bottom, and we're going to see if we can't just pull this out. Let's do the same on the other side. Gently lift, give it a little bit of tension, and we'll pull it out and see if we can't go all the way to the charge port again. Right there. Okay. Now in this model, what I like to do is lift up the screen a little bit and move it just enough that I can get to the screws for the proximity sensor. So we'll grab our screwdriver and we'll get to these two screws, remove the shield, and then we'll disconnect the proximity sensor. That way we can lift up the screen and fold it out. Now we need to be mindful of not messing with the front-facing camera assembly for Face ID reasons. The next step is going to be removing all of the screws on the motherboard all the way down, so we can not only disconnect the display after removing this shield and this one as well, so we can get at the battery screw. And you do want to make sure you're keeping these screws in order because they're not all the same size. Some of them are screwing on top of the board, some of them are going all the way through the board to the back. So you do need to make sure you don't mix these up, otherwise you're going to cause some board damage when you go to put the screws back. Now we'll lift up on the shield here. If you kind of pull in this direction, it won't warp so much, just like that. And you got to make sure this metallic sticker doesn't accidentally come off of the rim here, because it will short out components down below. We'll pop off this shield. Now we can disconnect the battery, and we'll go in and disconnect all of the two display connectors and the two touch connectors, and we'll set this aside. Now, not all iPads require the removal of the motherboard to get to them. Some of them you can kind of bend them up and out of the way. This one, however, it runs under part of the battery cells. If we take a look at a new battery, what we'll see is this section of this little BMS board runs under the logic board here. So we do need to remove it in order to replace this battery. I'm going to disconnect all of the coax cables and connectors on this top section here and on the bottom section and here in the middle so that we can lift this board up and out. There's two right here. Charge port repairs on this model are really simple because it's not soldered to the board, which is nice. But to make this simple, I am going to be removing the charge port so that it's not in my way. Up at the top, I'm going to grab a T4 screw bit and we'll remove the two screws for the front-facing camera assembly so we can get it out of the way. Don't forget this little hidden metal piece that's right here under this flex cable that's wrapped up in that sticker. I don't know why they wanted to make it that difficult or that hard to see, but I've seen so many techs miss that during the teardown, and then they tear these cables and it's just no fun. So now that we've got everything disconnected, I'm going to go in with some isopropyl alcohol. In a couple places around the border of the motherboard, I'm going to put some of that. And then we'll slowly work our spudger under the motherboard, adding more isopropyl alcohol as we go, so that we're not flexing the board too much and we're letting it let go. Now you can also put this on a heat mat, you can warm up the back, there's a lot of things you can do. Let me know what you like to do, or if you like to just be patient and wait for the alcohol to do its thing with the assistance of a spudger or two. When I feel like it's ready, I'm going to start to push a little bit more with the spudger, adding more isopropyl alcohol as I go. And it only takes a minute or two, but if you're patient, the board will then come up and out. And you shouldn't have any flex to the board if you've done it right. Now this is one of the models that I really like to do the batteries on, just because it has the pull tabs for the battery. These pull tabs are unique because they kind of create a U shape. So one of the pull tabs is connected to the other. So they're quite convenient. The way I like to do this is I'll find one of the pull tabs and I'll take like a screwdriver or anything that's around and I'll start to twist it on the sticker. And what that does is it peels up the sticker and it wraps the sticker around the shaft. I guess if there isn't alcohol. And then you can start to wind it up and pull out the adhesive on the battery. Now let me know in the comments below. Do you prefer to pry up the battery, let the alcohol heat? Do you do it this way? And then I'll go to the next one and I'll use the adhesive that's already on the shaft to kind of grab onto the sticker. And then I'll wind it up and we'll pull, and we'll do the same thing on each and every one of them. Grabbing the adhesive and pulling. Grabbing the adhesive and pulling. And we'll repeat this until we are done. And let's move on over to the other side. Let's see if we can have a little bit better of a result here. This time I'm going to grab onto both the adhesive strips that are connected at the end, and we'll pull together and see if we can't get them to stay in one unit. So looks like we started to tear here. I'm going to slow down, and there we got the whole one out on that side. Let's do the same thing here. We'll pull and we'll see if we can do the same thing on this middle one. You can see them slowly start to come together. See if we can get the whole thing, just this one as it moves across. There we go. And now the last one. We'll grab both of the pull tabs and then pull them together nice and slowly. Watch them slowly start to come together. And that's how it should have come off on the other side. As you can see, this cell is now completely free, where this one still has the U shapes of adhesive. Now I'm just going to take the spudger and we're going to carefully push through the adhesive. We want to make sure that this is always pushing down on the frame so that it doesn't puncture the lithium cell lining if you're going to have to pry. Now there's adhesive all down this side that you carefully need to pry away from. We just need to make sure we don't damage the cable that runs under here. And then we can just gently pry it up. All right, now we'll carefully pry up the BMS and now we can pull it away. So you can see this U came out, this one, part of it stayed behind, this one, part of it stayed behind. But the main thing that was holding us up was this adhesive all the way down the side there. So now I'm going to clean up any of the residue and the alcohol. We'll dry it all up. Now this adhesive is still intact, it's still tacky. I'm just going to leave it. Our new battery, if we take it out, it does have adhesive. They're not pull tabs, but hopefully this device won't need to have the battery ever replaced again. But if it is, this adhesive it will come up a lot easier with isopropyl alcohol than the OEM adhesive pull tabs. So they'll have no problem getting this up, but this adhesive is good enough. So we'll go ahead and pull off the protector there. We'll leave the blue side on so that it kind of holds the battery where it should be. We'll line up the peg here with the hole in the BMS, and we'll leave on this black tape to kind of help hold down the BMS. Now that the battery is lined up, we'll drop this into place and kind of push it down. I'm going to pull off the blue guy here, and I'm going to actually make a small adjustment, lift up this battery cell and move it just a little bit so that it clears the speaker a little bit better on this side, and then we'll stick it back down. Now for just the long and tedious process of putting everything back, making sure that every single flex cable is on top of the board and that it gets connected up properly. And the one thing that I'm going to do is isolate the battery connector. So I've got a little piece of plastic here and I'm going to slide it on top of where the battery is going to go. That way I don't have contact with the battery until I'm ready to let that last screw hold it down. So I want to have everything but the proximity sensor connected up. All right, now I've gone around and I verified that every single connector is up and on top and that nothing's getting pinched. And one thing that I like to do is I'll take the screws that belong on this part of the board and I'll screw it down, just that screw or so that it holds the board in place as I go in to connect everything else. We'll connect back up the charge port and put its screws back, and then we can put back the front-facing camera assembly and tighten it down, and then we can go ahead and connect up all of the camera, the infrared camera, the dot projector. And now we have a couple options. We can tape up the display or we can tape up the frame. I'm going to go around real quick and clean up the frame. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and connect up the display so we can do a test real quick just to make sure that this battery is connected properly, and then we'll adhere the display. All right, now that the display is connected, I'm going to slide out the protector for the battery and we will screw down the battery connector there. And for testing purposes, I'm just going to connect up the proximity sensor and let's see if this battery has any charge. And would you look at that? We do have a charge, so let's let it come on and see if we are going to work. We clean up some of these smudges just a little bit. And the battery is typically around 50%. Looks like it says 47%, so that's nice. Let's test the touch. What I like to do to test the touch is just go to power it off, and instead of letting it power off, we're just going to go around all the way from corner to corner, and that way we're good. Let's make sure it charges. All right, well, we'll plug it in and we're charging. I always like to flip it around and double check the other side, and we're charging as well. So yeah, this is good to go. I do have to put back the brackets and plates and shields and reinstall adhesive, but I won't waste your time with that. So that wraps up today's video. If there's something that you'd like to add as to how you would have done it differently, leave it in the comments below. And if there's something that you'd like to see in a future video, let me know as well. Thanks a ton for watching, and we'll see you next week for some more videos.